Have you ever wondered how to solve a Rubik's Cube? This iconic multicolored puzzle has been testing minds and twisting hands since the 1970s. It's a labyrinth of complexity, a game of strategy and patience. But don't be daunted. Today we're embarking on a journey to unravel this enigma, step by step. We'll delve into its structure, navigate through its layers, and finally reach the goal, a solved Rubik's Cube. So hold on to your cubes, and let's unlock this mystery together. By the end of this video, you'll be equipped with the knowledge to solve a Rubik's Cube. Before we delve into solving the cube, understanding its structure proves essential. A Rubik's Cube, at its core, is a three-dimensional puzzle composed of smaller parts, each with a vital role to play. Firstly, we have the center pieces. These 6 stationary pieces serve as the heart of our cube, each one a beacon of its respective color. Remember, no matter how much we twist or turn the cube, these centers remain fixed. Next, we have the edge pieces. There are 12 in total, each sharing 2 colors. They bridge the centers together and are pivotal in creating our cube's initial framework. Lastly, we have the corner pieces. These 8 components each showcase 3 colors and quite literally hold the corners of our cube. They are the final pieces of our puzzle. Understanding the roles of these pieces allows us to visualize our end goal more clearly. Now that you've grasped the cube's structure, let us begin the solving process. Solving a Rubik's Cube begins with making a white cross. Now, you might be wondering, what's so special about the white cross? Well, it's the foundation upon which we'll build the rest of our solution. So let's get cracking. To create the white cross, we need to match the white edge pieces with the corresponding center colors. But hold on, what are edge pieces and center colors? Well, the edge pieces are the ones with 2 different colors, and the center colors are the individual colors at the center of each side. Remember, every side of the cube has a fixed center color that doesn't move, no matter how much you twist or turn the cube. Now, let's start with the white edge that has another color. Let's say blue. Find the blue center piece. Got it? Great. Now turn the top layer of the cube until the white and blue edge piece aligns with the blue center piece. Repeat this process with the rest of the white edge pieces, aligning them with their respective center colors. Sounds simple enough, right? But here's where it gets tricky. While aligning the white edges, ensure you don't disrupt the ones you've already fixed. This might require some maneuvering and a bit of a strategic approach. It's like playing a game of chess with colors. Don't worry if it takes a few tries. Remember, practice makes perfect. The white cross is a crucial step in solving the Rubik's Cube. It's like building a house. If your foundations are strong, the rest of the structure will hold up. So, take your time and make sure your white cross is in perfect order, with each edge piece matching its respective center color. Once you've got your white cross complete, give yourself a pat on the back. You've just completed the first major step in solving a Rubik's Cube. With the white cross complete, we're off to a great start. So let's keep this momentum going. In the next scene, we'll dive into solving the first layer of the Rubik's Cube. Stay tuned. Following the white cross, the next step involves solving the first layer. Now you might think this is where things start to get tricky, but don't worry, it's actually simpler than you might think. The first layer of the Rubik's Cube is solved by placing the corners correctly. Now let's break this down. Each corner has 3 colors, one of which will always be white. The other 2 colors correspond to the 2 sides adjacent to the white face. The first thing you'll want to do is look for a corner piece on the bottom layer that has white on it. Once you've found one, you'll need to rotate the bottom layer until the corner piece is directly beneath where it needs to go. Now, here comes the cool part. You'll need to perform a specific sequence of moves to get that corner piece up to the first layer. This sequence might seem a bit complicated at first, but with practice you'll find it becomes second nature. So you've got your first corner piece in place. Great job! But we're not done yet. You'll need to repeat this process for the other 3 corners. Remember, each corner piece only has 1 correct spot, so don't worry if things look a bit messy at first. As you're placing your corners, you might find that a piece you need is already in the first layer, but in the wrong spot or the wrong orientation. If that happens, don't panic. You can use the same sequence of moves to remove it from the first layer and then use the process we've just covered to place it in the correct spot. And there you have it. With some patience and practice, you've solved the first layer of your Rubik's Cube. It might seem like a small victory, but every journey begins with a single step, and you've just taken a major one. With the first layer solved, we're one step closer to our goal. So keep going, and remember, solving a Rubik's Cube isn't about speed, it's about perseverance and enjoying the challenge. With the first layer complete, we now move to solving the second layer. The second layer of the Rubik's Cube is where things start to get interesting. It's all about positioning the edge pieces correctly, and this involves a technique that we call the U, R, UI, Ri, Ui, Fi, U, F move. Now don't let those abbreviations intimidate you. They're just shorthand for the moves you'll be making. So let's break it down. First, we start with the U move, which means turning the upper or top layer 90 degrees clockwise. Then comes the R move, where we turn the right side of the cube 90 degrees clockwise. UI signifies turning the upper layer 90 degrees counterclockwise, and Ri means turning the right side counterclockwise. Ui again, and then we move on to the F moves, which involve the front side of the cube. Fi means turning the front side 90 degrees counterclockwise. U turns the upper layer clockwise, and finally, F turns the front side clockwise. This sequence is the key to getting those edge pieces in place. It might sound like a lot to remember, but with a bit of practice, it will start to feel like second nature. Just keep repeating the sequence until all the edges are where they need to be. Remember, our goal is to match the colors on the side with the center pieces. If you find an edge piece in the right place but oriented incorrectly, don't panic. Just use the same sequence to move it out, and then reposition it correctly. It's all about patience and practice. By the end of this stage, the first two layers of your Rubik's Cube should be solved, all colors matching on each side. It's quite the achievement, so take a moment to admire your handiwork. Having solved the second layer, we're halfway through the process. So keep up the good work, and let's move on to the next challenge. Next, we proceed to form the yellow cross on the cube's top layer. This stage is a bit tricky, but don't worry, we'll walk through it together. The key to forming the yellow cross is to follow specific sequences of moves, known as algorithms. These algorithms might sound intimidating, but they're simply a methodical process to shuffle the cube's pieces without disturbing what we've already solved. Let's start by moving the unsolved yellow pieces to the top layer of the cube. Remember, at this point we're not concerned with matching the side colors just yet. Our goal here is to get all the yellow stickers on the top layer, forming a cross. We'll use a particular algorithm to achieve this. You'll need to repeat this algorithm, making sure to keep the cube in the same orientation until the yellow cross appears. Now, you might need to run through the algorithm more than once, and that's perfectly okay. Don't be disheartened if the yellow cross doesn't form immediately. The key here is patience and precision. It's not a race, and with each sequence you're one step closer to solving the puzzle. Once you've formed the yellow cross, take a moment to admire your handiwork. The cube should now have a yellow cross on the top layer, with the remaining yellow pieces scattered around. It's starting to look like a solved Rubik's Cube, isn't it? But don't get too comfortable. We still have a bit more work to do. As we move forward, remember that every move you make is part of a process, a dance of colors and squares. Each turn is a step closer to the final solution. So don't rush, savor each move and enjoy the journey. At this point, you've done an excellent job forming the yellow cross. You've mastered a crucial part of solving the Rubik's Cube, and you're well on your way to completing the puzzle. With the yellow cross formed, we're nearing the finish line. Keep going, the end is in sight. Now we've reached the thrilling final stage, solving the last layer. Our Rubik's Cube journey is almost at an end, with just the final layer left to solve. This layer is like the final piece of a puzzle, where everything comes together to form a complete picture. The challenge here is twofold: orienting and positioning the corners and edges correctly. First, let's tackle the corners. Visualize your cube's top face as a compass, with each corner representing north, south, east, and west. The aim is to rotate each corner piece until the color matches the center of the top face. This might seem like a daunting task, but remember, every twist brings us closer to our goal. Next, we move on to the edges. Each edge piece should be sandwiched between two corner pieces, forming a neat and colorful sandwich. The goal is to align the edge pieces with their corresponding corners and centers. This might require a few twists and turns, but with patience and precision, you'll get there. Now that we've oriented and positioned the corners and edges, it's time for the final step, solving the last layer. This is where everything comes together. You'll need to use everything you've learned so far to maneuver the pieces into their correct positions. This step can be a bit tricky, but remember, it's all part of the fun. Take a moment to admire your cube. Look at how far you've come, from a jumbled mess of colors to an almost complete Rubik's Cube. You've navigated through the white cross, the first layer, the second layer, and the yellow cross, and now you're on the brink of solving the final layer. So take a deep breath, muster all your concentration, and make that final move. And there you have it, a solved Rubik's Cube. You've twisted, turned, and triumphed over one of the world's most famous puzzles. You've shown patience, strategy, and a keen eye for detail. Congratulations, you've solved the Rubik's Cube. Let's take a moment to recap the steps we've just covered. To solve the enigma that is the Rubik's Cube, we started off by understanding the cube's structure. This knowledge is fundamental as it lays the groundwork for all the following steps. Next, we tackled the white cross. It's the first step to bringing order to the chaos. It's a bit like creating a compass that will guide you through the rest of the solution. Once the cross was in place, we moved on to completing the first layer. This required a bit more finesse, but with patience and practice, you managed to get all the white squares in their rightful places. The second layer was our next challenge. It's a bit trickier than the first, but by applying the algorithms we discussed, you were able to conquer it. Remember, the key to mastering this step is repetition and consistency. With 2 layers completed, we embarked on the journey to the yellow cross. This is where things got a bit more complex, but you held your ground, and with the help of specific moves, the yellow cross came to life. Finally, we arrived at the last layer, the final frontier. It's the most challenging part of the cube, but you persevered and emerged victorious. With these steps in your arsenal, you're now ready to impress your friends with your new skill. Happy cubing!